All right.
All right.
We are now recording.
All right.
Go for it. Start at the
Yes.
top.
Yeah. So I'm Noah. I'm the flyer record and the air structures team lead. And
I'm Elizabeth. I'm the student team lead.
so just before we get started on like the hardware aspect, we recently test flew the entire system in Argonia, Kansas at Cloudbusters,
Mhm.
and everything worked great. Nothing out of the ordinary. We flew pretty close within what we were simulating. We hit hair over 28,000 feet, successfully recovered, and overall nothing more than a couple tweaks on our recovery setup. So more or less, that's exactly what we're going to do again in Spaceport. So we're really excited that everything seemed to have worked great. But yeah, if you have any questions about test flight specific stuff, feel free to ask. But other than that, I guess we'll get started on, start from the bottom and work our way up. So the meat and potatoes of this entire system is our SRAD motor case. So we fly in O3800, fully SRAD, casing and propellant. Brady, if you want to talk about propulsion stuff at all, was yours.
Yeah, okay. So like I said, we use we have a 03800 152 millimeter motor. We use our own APCP propellant called NASA Yellow. It's developed by the Nevada Aerospace Science Associates. It's one we've used multiple times in the past to great success. Even our previous 30K shot in 2022, we used NASA Yellow with it. It worked well. It was characterized by the club in 2018, so very familiar with it. The casing, bulkhead, and nozzle care are all made out of 6061 aluminum, all designed in-house and manufactured by students. The casing was made last year by our previous propulsion lead, and the aluminum bulkhead and nozzle carrier were made this year. We recently hydrostatic tested all the propulsion hardware to 1400 psi and held it for 4 hours, which is about 2 times the max expected operating pressure of our system.
So we do have while rocking a 6-inch motor, we do step down to a 4-inch diameter nozzle just through like a pretty standard nozzle carrier. And our nozzles are made out of super fine isomodal graphite, so pretty standard stuff. The reason we stepped down to the 4-inch is because there's really no need performance wise besides just increasing the amount of graphite we use, and it gets more expensive and very little performance increase. But we've flown this motor configuration for years at this point, and we've really got it tuned in, and it does more or less exactly what we predict what it's going to do. But yeah, we roll with snap ring closures, which we're pretty out of the ordinary for snap rings on this scale. But we double up on the snap rings, and they work great. I mean, we hydrostatic test everything. We don't change a whole lot between motor iterations, and this configuration's been working great for years, and no reason to try to fix something that isn't broken. But
So
yeah.
Noah, I'd like to ask you a few questions about your experience. How long have you been level 3? And
I think about 2.5 years. Yeah, about 2.5 years. Yeah, so I've been level 3 for about 2.5 years. I've been involved in the team all 4 years of college. I've flown lots of big rockets and been a part of all of the major club rockets that we've done.
how many rockets have you built independently?
I've built 4 or 5 larger rockets on my own. Flew one experimental one purely on my own, that experimental motor, and then I know the ins and outs of the big motors that we fly for these much bigger rockets that are out of my price range.
Okay. I wonder about the personal experience of somebody who's trying to learn how to build and fly rockets and make propellant while they're in college.
Yeah.
Lots of people are not able to get enough experience to do that. And so, if you don't have a lot of experience, you can't really guide your teammates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
I like to refer to rocketry as my full-time job away from my full-time job as a student. Yeah, I put way more time into this than I probably should have for my GPA, but that's besides the point. But yeah, if you have any more questions for me specifically, just feel free to interrupt.
all righty then.
Alrighty. So propulsion side, and for starting off, what I was mainly the lead for is our aerostructure stuff. So here's our booster, 6-inch diameter, 60 inches long. We have 4 fins in a just regular 90-degree spacing. The whole booster is made out of custom filament wound carbon fiber, which is actually made on the machine behind me. It's a pretty heavily modified X-wind. But yeah, it's nothing really special. Basically, we just took an X-winder, which sucks, out of the box and made it work. And we've actually had a chance to test fly twice on tubes we made from that machine. This past Kansas launch was the first time we've launched something we made off that machine under the loads of a 30K shot. We've flew at Spaceport last year for 10K using that machine, and there's no sign of damage or anything out of the ordinary. The tubes performed amazingly. I'm ecstatic and how strong they seem to be. But yeah, so as I said before, we're using a 6-inch diameter motor, and if you remember, 6-inch diameter booster as well. So we are flying a minimum diameter motor, and our motor retention is an aluminum disc that sits inside the booster. It's held in with these radial screws. We have a permanently fixed 5/8 eye bolt that goes through the aluminum disc, and that's permanently fixed to it, so you can't spin and can't. Well, I don't think I could get it out even if I wanted to. And then
Can I see it?
Yeah, so we can look down the gullet of it. So it's just a full disc with a flange that goes up and meets the screws that go through the airframe, and it just mates with a tapped end on the forward bulkhead of our motor, and just to avoid any kind of vibration induce kind of unscrewing, we also put in some blue Loctite, just temporary medium strength Loctite into the end of the motor, and we worry about getting it out later if we need to worry about it not falling out during flight. But this is a test flight proven system, and we made sure that upon recovery in Kansas that there was no sign of the motor unscrewing or loosening at all. That thankfully was not the case, and everything worked great. There's no reason to change anything. But
Could I see the fins now?
yeah, these are the cool
I'd like to
ones.
see I mean, you're flying basically a 6-inch minimum diameter rocket.
Yep. So
So,
so the fins are after tip to tip and various reinforcement are about 1/2 inch thick. They are airfoiled in like a double diamond, pretty standard supersonic airfoil. They are a 3/16 a G10 fiberglass core with the actual center of the fin cut like water jet out, and we have phenolic Nomex honeycomb embedded inside, which we're really excited worked out so well. And we put 3 layers of 12-ounce carbon fiber on either side of the fin. And then when we went to go tack the fin onto the booster itself, we used 4 layers of 6-ounce carbon fiber as tip to tip. And I mean, like, it turned out smooth. We're really happy with how it turned out. But yeah, these these fins are solid. I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon.
Okay. So moving on up,
Mhm.
where's your recovery harness for?
Yep. So our recovery lead, Sarah, has our harnesses right now. So I don't know if she's in a spot where she could hold it, but this is the material we use. It's just standard 1-inch tubular nylon purchased from commercial retailers, and then we cut and sew it to what we need. And it's pretty standard stuff. We've flown that same construction and configuration boat like lots of times before, and we've never had any issues.
How often do you change out your recovery harness?
We typically change it out once every year, so 2 flights, unless there's visible damage on the harnesses. We get 2 flights out of a harness, and beyond that, there's new year, new budget. There's not really a reason to not purchase a new one just to be extra safe.
I
And what do you-
have the recovery harness right here if you want to see it.
I would like to see it.
All right. So we have, like he just showed you, there's 2 of them. We have a 55-foot section that goes with the main parachute, and then a 45-foot section that goes with the drogue. The ends we each have sewn in this shape, where we basically just looped it over. We have a loop here on the end for our quick links to go through. I have these at home because right now I'm getting ready to put more stitches in here just for extra reinforcement. But right now it's just sewn with nylon thread in this like X shape, and then the end is soldered down. And then let me find it, like a third of the way down the harness, we have basically the same thing, just in the middle where we can attach like actually to the chute.
You picked up the 55-volt one, didn't you?
Yeah, I picked up the 55 from the wrong end, so give me a second, we'll find it. Here it is. All right. So yeah, so it's the same thing. Right here is the loop in the middle where each of the parachutes connect to, and they're sewn down in the same manner. And then whenever we connect our parachutes, we connect it to the side that is like the whole harness, not the side that was sewn on, just so if anything does go wrong and this rips off, the parachute is still connected to the harness and not like this little part that's more fragile.
Very good.
Yep, and the other harness is in the exact same way with a third loop, a third of the way down one of the ends.
There's each of them, so
yep,
they're both made the same.
So how many times have they flown already?
So this particular harness has only flown 1 time, and this was at Kansas a month ago-ish.
And you said it was 55 on the drogue and 45 on the main?
Other way around, so 55 foot on the main and 45 foot on the drogue. The reason that we have historically flown the main parachute one being longer is because we make these big rockets for Spaceport, which we know we have a large heavy payload usually up in the nose section. So upon main deployment, we do have a significant amount of mass hanging around on that end. So just for extra peace of mind, and have not really ever seen.
I would actually do it the other way around, because where you're going to get the force on the nose cone, the very heavy nose cone, is when the drogue deploys. And if you don't want it really shooting out, I know, you can't calculate your charges exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I and many others tend to just make them as beefy as you can. So if it shoots out to the length, you can get jerking, and that can shear your shear pins on your main too. So I usually do it the other way around. I do the 45 with the main, and wherever the main is, and the shorter one, no, I do the shorter one for the main and the longer one for the drogue. Just, that extra 10 feet is is really good
Yeah.
cushion
So
against those
in the
kinds of
times that we
forces.
have noticed some stress on the stitching, it's actually on the deployment of our main. So, which is why we've been inclined to extend that a little longer. And I believe the primary reason for that is we do come down under drogue pretty quickly. Our main parachute deployment is around like 110-ish feet per second. So there is a pretty significant, once the main does open, there is a pretty significant jerk on that. And if we can, soak up any kind of those forces at all with an extra length of harness, that's a pretty easy fix.
Yeah. How tall is your rocket?
We are 149 inches tall.
So what is that in feet?
It's a little over 12 feet.
Yeah, a hair over 12 feet, I
Probably
think.
like 12 feet.
So
Yeah.
12 times 4 would be.
It's 12.5.
Yeah.
So you may want to, in that case, increase your, if this is going to be your standard for Spaceport,
Mhm.
you probably want to have 5 times the length. The 55 would be good for the main,
Mhm.
but I would do at least 55 and 55.
Okay.
4 to 5 times the length of your rocket.
Mhm.
So is usually and if you've got a really heavy nose cone, I would do closer to 5 than 4.
Okay.
I don't have any, I mean, I think you'll probably be okay,
Mhm.
especially since you flight tested it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be at Spaceport this year, so somebody else will be doing your final launch readiness review.
Okay.
So
Yeah, we'll definitely keep you and our other safety advisor in the loop of if we decide to switch to a slightly longer harness or just try not to.
who's your other safety reviewer for your motor?
We're not sure. I don't think we haven't been contacted by a motor specific.
The only safety reviewer that has contacted us is you.
Yeah.
Oh.
No,
Well,
unless this is.
So I may be your only one because I do review the SRAD motors.
Okay.
So, I mean, you're going with a proven formula, which helps a lot. You're not changing things a lot from year to year. How big are your chutes?
You said how big are our parachutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a 28-inch drogue. It's just a sky angle Cert 2. And then we have a 10-foot pull down apex fruity shoots. It's the ultralight iris one. And again, so this is the drogue. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the sky angle ones before.
Just a few
and then
times.
yeah, fruity shoots. It's a pretty reliable parachute brand that we've used frequently, and then we do use the accompanying fruity shoots deployment bag, just pretty standard, no mechs. Then we have an attachment point for the top loop of the fruity shoots, and then the bag is pulled off with a 20-inch again sky angle pilot chute.
Gotcha. What do you put on your recovery harness, your shock cord?
Yeah, so we have
spraying or damage from the ejection charges.
Yeah, so we have 2 30-inch Kevlar sleeves that we slide over top the base of the harness, and I mean we made these ourselves years ago, and they've been troopers.
Yeah, but it really does help, especially with nylon, not to have to rub against the edge of the body tube.
Yeah, so we do.
I've been cut by the body tube.
Yeah, I've come close to it before. But yeah, we do file down the inside edge of the body tubes to avoid any of that. And then we've never, as long as we do that, we've never seen any kind of shearing or fraying on the harnesses.
Okay. Your avionics bay.
Yep. So Ben, this is your territory, but I'll hold up. So this is the main sled and the aft. I think this is aft. Yeah, this is the aft end bulkhead. But Ben, if
So
you
we're-
want to talk about it.
Yep, we're flying a Telemega as the main and tertiary. A Stratolog is the secondary. Telemega goes off at 1,500 feet. Stratolog are at, what is it, 1,200 feet?
Yep.
And then Telemega again at 1,000 feet. Main charges are all black powder, and then the drogue charges are two Raptor system CO2 cartridges, as well as a tertiary black powder. Bulkheads were made using the WVU Innovation Hub. We bought G10 from Wildman and CNC cut it ourselves.
Yep.
It uses two quarter 28 all thread to connect both bulkheads. It uses a LiPo battery bought from Chris Rocketry for the Telemega system, as well, and a lithium ion battery for the Stratologger, 2000 milliamp.
They're both stored in the 3D printed enclosures on the back.
Mhm.
And then for extra strength, because since we do use like might not be able to see it, but we do have a step inside the on the each end of each bulkhead. And while that's probably good enough, we also we cut a section of coupler to fit inside the coupler itself, and then we epoxy. It's like about 1/4 inch thick, just to serve as a secondary like internal lip for the bottom of the bulkhead to sit up against, just so that upon recovery, if this section of bulkhead were to shear, which we have never seen that happening, it would have to go through another lip on the inside to actually cause the inside of the avionics bay to rip through the whole thing and cause, bad things.
Can I see your battery attachments and where do they go?
Yep.
They go all the way through the G10 sled.
Yeah, so there's just a pass through here and connects to.
There are screw points on the other side that use the M3 screws.
Yep. So it just goes through and goes through here, mates through the Telemega here and the Stratologger here, and then we send the charges to where they need to go. But they all terminate to these large snap fittings or snap connectors.
Mm-hmm.
And
every wire is labeled for what charge it's connected to. Yep.
Where's the outside with their switch band?
Yep. So here is the section. So it is 14 inches long, so that we can have one caliber on each side and 2-inch switch band. And we have 2 screw switches that are just permanently mounted inside that can connect with another screw fitting. And yeah, pretty standard stuff. So commercially purchased Wildman coupler. And then this is a section of the upper airframe, which I'll get to in a little bit. This is the switch band is the custom made fiberglass. Then we just have a 3D printed rail guide, which is 3D printed out of carbon fiber reinforced nylon. So really, really strong stuff. We've used this for years and they always work great. And then we also have the hard mechanical connection that goes all the way through and just meets on the inside. Where is it? There it is. Yep.
We use 2 different switches as well. We used a screw switch and the lab rat pull pin switch.
Mm.
they're wired in parallel so that if either switch becomes disconnected for whatever reason during flight, there's another switch that
Yeah,
provides power.
Yeah, we went for the dissimilar redundancy on that aspect.
So are the different switches labeled? Which is
Yes,
proper
so let's
on the
see.
outside?
Yeah, Ben, did you?
I don't believe I did.
Yeah, if you did, it
I
got
can
rubbed
fix that.
off.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the pull pin, pretty easy. There's a big removable flight tag sticking out the side, so that's pretty easy to pretty easy to make sure that you don't forget to arm that one.
Mhm.
And then since this one's so easy to know for sure that we armed it, because you got to pull it out. We on the pad we activate the screw switches first. So we do one, make sure we hear the right beeps from a respective altimeter, and then we do the other one, wait for continuity on all of our things, and then we pull the pull pin just to make sure. Because if you pull the pull pin and both start beeping all at once, you may not be sure you actually screw down the screw switch all the way. Just a simple way to make sure that you've actually activated the things on both dissimilar switches.
Okay. So each screw switch goes to both
No,
devices?
each screw switch is independent.
Hmm.
One screw switch and one pull pin, or one section of the pull pin per altimeter.
Yeah, so the pull pin setup has technically 3 switches on it, but we only use 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those switches goes to the telemega and is in parallel to one of the screw switches, and the same thing for the stratolocker.
And the plug that goes between the sled and the screw switches is keyed, so it cannot be swapped.
Yep, and it's got a little black shirt, got a little screw thing that you tighten down so it can't come unplugged without loosening that.
Okay. Okay. Moving on forward.
Yep. So then we have the forward airframe assembly. So we have a section for onboard camera system and an integrated payload section on the inside of the nose cone. So yep. So this is our kind of jumped ahead a little bit. So this is our forward airframe section. It's again 6 inches diameter, 36 inches long. This is the in-house film and wound fiberglass that was made on the X-Winder. Pretty much nothing special to it. It's attached to the avionics bay through 12 8/32 screws that are just spaced radially, and it mates with goes through the screws go through the forward airframe and into the avionics bay coupler through 12 of these adhesively mounted internal backing nuts, which we've had a lot of really, really good success with those. I'm happy I found those on McMaster. But yeah, so we go with the for main deployment, which our main is stored in the forward airframe. We go with kind of like a shoot cannon setup where the airframe section is attached permanently to the avionics bay with the chargers attached, so that we actually kind of potato cannon shoot our recovery burrito out instead of kind of shooting it up into the bottom of the nose cone and then like pushing off the rest of it. Pretty standard setup. We've been advised for years from our technical advisor. But
Who is your technical advisor?
Joe Skolka.
Okay.
Yep.
He's Tripoli Pittsburgh Prefecture President.
Yeah, and he's our local rocket guy, and we go up there to mix our propellant as well.
He was not able to join us today due to the last minute scheduling from last week and the notice that went out about an hour ago.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, so one last thing on the forward airframe. So this is the aft section that I said that connects to the avionics bay. And this is the other end is our main parachute separation point. So everything main parachute stored within here. And we have number 4 shear pins just spaced radially on this end that interfaces with our camera bay, payload bay / nose cone assembly that's all pinned together. And then to help mitigate any kind of, might not be able to see it, but we have a 2-inch section of coupler epoxied on just recessed on the inside of the forward airframe.
Let me-
Yeah, there we go. So that the momentum of, the inertia of the actual payload assembly upon launch doesn't just like want to shoot through the bottom. Actually, we have a backing lip set up so that doesn't happen. And we also epoxied a lip on the inside so that when the parachute bundle comes through, it's a nice even ramp that nothing will get caught on. It won't get stuck on the edge of the lip. Which everything's been ejection tested, and it spits the charges we used in Kansas and plan to use in Spaceport. Separated everything and spit out the recovery bundle just as we wanted. But yeah, so moving up, so this is the camera bay section. This is the end that mates with the forward airframe that I was just talking about. So this is our main parachute separation point, or the other side of it, and it's retained to the recovery harness by just a U-bolt that's just backed in on a fiberglass bulkhead that's permanently attached. So it's got pretty large epoxy fillets on the underside and top side, which is inside the bay, which is not easy to access at the moment. But yeah, so all of this is one solid piece that's mechanically attached to itself. So none of this will separate during flight. And then we just have a 3D printed camera shroud that's permanently attached, and there's a small square pass through for the camera as well that goes through both the coupler section and the airframe. And this is one section, well, technically 2 sections of coupler, but they're both epoxied in place so that it's effectively one long coupler section that goes through, so that we can maintain that 14 inches long while also having 1 caliber coupler sticking out each end with room for the camera bay. It's basically another avionics bay over the camera in the middle. But yeah, so that goes up to our nose cone section, which is a commercially bought Wildman von Karman. It's 36.5 inches long, so about 6:1 fineness ratio. And this is where our payload sits. So it's housed within the nose cone on the other end of the camera bay system, which is just another G10 plate that we CNC'd. It's retained by 4 screws that sit on the underside of our payload assembly, and just holds it in place. And then we have room for our SRAD APRS trackers. Just how it sits on top of the payload, just sticks up inside the nose cone.
Did
And
you
that
say you
whole-
have a COTS GPS as well?
Yes, so the Telemega does have GPS, and that's our
Okay.
primary one. And then we have a SRAD APRS system that's been tested.
Between the balloon project earlier in the fall semester
Yeah,
and then the test.
Yeah, the APRS has been tested to pretty much space on a weather balloon, so we're happy about we're happy that works, because Alpha's Metro products are either here nor there. But
Unfortunately, yes.
yep, we can't figure out why BDL has not put a brownout capacitor on them before. But because we've had that problem before, we've had to manually override charges in flight because of that, which unfortunately, since it's pretty much the go-to big boy altimeter for these kinds of rockets, because it has integrated tracking, we can't modify it with a brownout capacitor because that technically means it's now an SRAD one.
Yeah.
We've been bugging BDale for years about adding it in on the next iteration.
Well, yeah. And I know that things got crazy with supply chain
Yeah.
during COVID.
Yeah.
I don't know whether Um, I don't know whether he's been able to get all that completely solved.
Yeah, but
Um, but yeah,
I put a ground
I,
up master on my personal ones.
very good.
Yep.
Very good.
So the whole payload section sits on the forward end of the recovery of the camera bay. And then when we go to integrate it, we just slide the nose cone on top. And it's retained by 4 radial 832 screws, which again are mated with 4 adhesively mounted backing nuts on the inside of the coupler. So that's a rigid mechanical connection that doesn't come apart.
Very nice.
Yep. And then we built this whole rocket with the idea of minimizing weight because it's a whole lot easier to add weight in the end than it is to take it away. So we went with it flew in Kansas with a 5-pound steel mass just sitting up in the nose cone. And based upon our flight, we took the amount that we undershot our altitude and just adjusted the weight in the simulation until we hit where we wanted to be, plus the difference that we saw in Kansas. So that actually ended up being cutting this mass in half to be 2.5 pounds, which we haven't had a chance to mill down yet, but it's retained by a. You're not going to be able to see that in here. Well, maybe. There we go.
Oh yeah.
So it's a quarter-inch, quarter 20 stud that is screwed into the aluminum nose tip with a lock nut on the bottom, and then a fender washer that's been bent to fit up inside here, and it's been epoxied on both sides, so that whenever the section of quarter 20 all thread, we're able to screw the nose tip on, and then also have a section that we can reach our arm up and just screw the mass in with some blue Loctite in the threading. And just that kind of adjustability that like we can actually during a test flight tune to what we need to. That's just really cool.
So, is Joe going to be coming with you to Spaceport?
No, he doesn't come. We've tried for years, but between his work and because he runs a wood shop, and so that's a lot of money that
he runs a wood shop, but also has a second part-time
yeah,
job.
now he has a part-time job, so you can't make it even more. But our faculty advisor, Dr. Browning, comes with us.
Does he have any experience with hobby rocketry?
He is, yeah, more or less. So he's been the faculty advisor for the team since pretty much the beginning. So he's gone out to competition for I think every year with the team.
Does he fly rockets?
Not a lot. He doesn't. He's working on his L1, but he is the university's missile guy. He knows the real version of these. But yeah, everything that goes through Browning goes through Joe as well, and we've been working with Joe for years, and he gets the final go ahead on what we propose for the year, which is more or less just change 1 or 2 things, but overall looks good.
Every design that we create is done with all of the students within the WVUER club, but that final say, like he says, is given the stamp of approval by both the faculty advisor and the technical advisor.
Yep.
Okay. I'm concerned about you being the flyer of record.
Mm-hmm.
The AAA insurance covers you, but there's a $2,500 deductible. Was the university going to cover that for you? If something bad happens,
yeah,
and there's an incident, you're responsible for $2,500 before AAA pays.
mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, we have funding set aside for unforeseen circumstances like that. So we won't have to go to the school begging for stuff. We have money set aside for that already.
okay.
But yeah, I was the flyer record. Sorry?
I'm glad you've planned for contingencies.
Yeah. So I've been the flyer record for this past Kansas test flight. I was the flyer record for last Spaceport, and I was the backup flyer record for Kansas 2 years ago. Yes, and Spaceport 2 years ago. I've been flyer record in some capacity 4 times.
Okay.
But yeah, any other
Let's see.
questions?
I don't have any other questions. You've covered pretty much everything. Do you have any questions?
The only question I had, and it might be a better question asked on the Hero X form, but as of going off of past timelines, we would have received a frequency form for frequency allocation for what we're going to be using during the competition. I haven't seen anything yet as of where to submit all of that from DaVinci. Do you know any updates on that by chance?
I do not. So
Okay.
that would definitely be for Hero X.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the only question I had.
Not really a
So-
question, but kind of like a, well, I guess it is a question, but like, but beyond like your recommendation for the recovery harnesses, do you have any recommendations for what we've shown you, or like any clarification for some of like the design reasoning?
No, I looked at your motor burn file.
Nice.
You know, your test stand data. I mean, you guys were thorough.
Mm.
I
tried.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
There were many
tried.
others that were not quite so thorough. And they did not end up being able to go to Spaceport this year. People that want to travel from Europe with research motors, it's like, the answer is just no.
Yeah.
No, I can't provide you a place to mix and pack and test your motor.
Yeah. Like we've heard horror stories from teams traveling from abroad and mixing sugar motors in the parking lot the day before they plan to launch, like that kind of stuff.
There's still people that want to, we're going to mix our motor in the parking lot or in our Airbnb, and it's like,
There's so many layers of no.
yeah. Like, just don't tell me that. Contact one of the universities that is close by and see if you can use some of their facilities. Otherwise, don't do SRAD.
Yeah.
Do COTS. There's only 2 choices, SRAD or COTS. So you guys know to wear a broad brimmed hat.
Yep.
Lots of sunscreen, sunglasses.
Oh yeah.
50 SPF fishing shirts, like the big box stores like Walmart probably has them too, but I know that Costco and BJ's, they stock them cheap this time of the year, and they're invaluable.
Yep.
Gloves,
Yeah.
believe it or not, people get burned on the back of their hands. So get fingerless, the fingerless like mechanics gloves, so that you can still touch things, but you're keeping most of the sun off your hands.
Yeah, a handful of us are the crew that's heading out. We've been once or multiple times. This is going to be my 3rd time down the Spaceport, so we've learned what to do and what not to do, and we let them know.
Make sure all the new people know.
Yes.
Yep. I was just about to say, I think our new guys are getting tired of my emails coming through almost every other day about like this.
They're not going to stop coming from Hero X either.
Yep.
And so no shorts and tank tops.
Mm-hmm.
I had to give somebody one of my long sleeve fishing shirts, a button up one, to put on over their clothes because all they brought was t-shirts. And on the first day out at Spaceport, they were already bright red. And it's like,
Oof.
Look, you redheaded person. Are you just plain dumb? Did you not listen when people were talking? Lots and lots of water. Electrolyte replacement. If you can find 50 SPF hiking pants, I really like the ones that are joggers that are close fitted around your ankle. So critters don't crawl up your pants.
Yep. I have a pair of those. They're a lifesaver out there.
Yes, they are. I have several pairs in different colors, but I won't be going this year, so. Yeah, and have fun. Oh,
Yeah.
and closed-toed shoes, no sneakers or sandals out in the desert. You want,
Yep.
I mean, again, there's critters. You don't want to get stung by a scorpion on your toe or bit by a rattlesnake or
And those godforsaken thorns are like
Yes.
longer than you could ever imagine. Like
and they
I've
will
had
go
almost
through the
I've had
bottom
a
of your,
thorn almost
of
go
your
through my
sneaker.
entire boot. I can't imagine what it would have been like if I had like regular tennis shoes on.
There was a volunteer that was out there with tennis shoes on. He stepped on a thorn and it went right through the bottom of his shoe
Yep.
because he was wearing sneakers. And it's
Yeah.
like, come on. We're all rocket people. You should have some good hiking boots
Yep.
or work boots that you can wear out and not get hurt. Safety first, go in the pool when you get back to the hotel.
Yes. Just thank God we have a pool this year.
And air conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Hopefully
yeah.
air
we
conditioning.
So, before we kind of just get into a casual conversation, would it be possible to end this recording?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we've talked all the technical stuff we need.